So you may have heard there's this epidemic going on in our schools, the schools of our children. There's these very, very dangerous things that are currently just ruining the lives of our kids. They're corrupting our youth. They're just disrupting the school environment. They're called opinions, and they're everywhere. They're everywhere in schools, and apparently that's a bad thing. You might not think opinions are such a bad thing, especially in a school environment, but apparently this guy does. The guy who wrote this article titled, "Does a Kid in a Pro-Trump Shirt Make a Classroom Unsafe?" Yes, you heard that correctly. Apparently, by wearing a t-shirt with a political opinion on it, you might actually be making other people around you unsafe. The article says, when he was running for president, Donald Trump alarmed First Amendment enthusiasts when he threatened to open up our libel laws. It was a pretty hollow threat. For one thing, libel laws are enacted at the state level. The primary way the president can affect libel law is through his appointments to the Supreme Court, which ensures that libel lawsuits comport with the Constitution. Ironically, Justice Neil Gorsuch, Trump's only appointee to the court, has a record as an appeals court judge of protecting the media and libel actions. But there is another area of the law in which Trump might pose a threat to First Amendment. Grammar check there. Free speech for students in public schools. So right off the bat, it's Trump's fault. That's how the article's starting. It is Trump's fault. Now, I'll admit, he's done quite a few things that I have a problem with, but I'm not really going to hold him accountable for what's happening here, for opinions in schools. In 1969, in Tinker v. Des Moines School District, the Supreme Court ruled in favor of students who were suspended for coming to school wearing black armbands to protest the Vietnam War. In a line that has rung ominously in the ears of generations of school administrators, the court said the school children don't shed their constitutional rights to freedom of speech or expression at the schoolhouse gate. Good, you might have heard of this court case before. It just means that, hey, you can wear anything to school. You can show you have free speech in schools as long as you're not using that free speech to hurt anyone, as long as you're not inciting violence or disrupting the school. Schools could suppress student speech, Justice Abe Fortas wrote, only when administrators had a reasonable expectation that the speech would cause substantial disruption of or material interference with school activities, or when the speech would violate the rights of other students, like inciting violence. Like if you came to school wearing a shirt that said like minorities are scum, I wouldn't really blame them, the school district, if they said, hey, please don't wear that here. I don't blame them because that's directly inciting violence. However, what's happening here is not the case. The Tinker decision remains unpopular not only with school administrators but also with some members of the court. So you can see what this author's doing here. He's already positioning to say, hey, schools don't like this. Members of the court don't even like this. Remember, free speech in schools, not a very good idea. People don't like it. Justice Clarence Thomas has noted approvingly that in the earliest public schools, teachers taught and students listened. Teachers commanded and students obeyed. Tinker, he complained, extended students' rights beyond traditional bounds. Doesn't that sound pretty authoritarian right there? Students, they show up to school, they learn what they are taught, they don't question anything. This is reminding me of Another Brick in the Wall, especially part 2, the kids on the assembly line just going through the school. This is not how we want schools. You know how you learn? You take in as much information as you possibly can. A lot of it can be quite controversial, and in fact, it should be controversial. That's how you your goal is not to take in information and just accept it. Your goal is to take in controversial information and then process it and say, okay, this is right, this is wrong. You have to actually use critical thinking. We are not here to isolate our children from harmful opinions. The article goes on to say, but while Tinker has been applied inconsistently, including by the Supreme Court, it remains good law. Enter Donald Trump and exit Lynn Orletsky. This week, the Atlanta Journal-Constitution reported that Orletsky submitted her resignation as a high school math teacher to the Cherokee County School Board in Georgia. The board had placed her on leave in September after she requested that 2 students wearing Make America Great Again t-shirts turn them inside out. In this video, Orletsky explains her reasoning. It wasn't about Trump, she says. Her classroom at River Ridge High School was 30% minority, and all of these kids have the right to feel comfortable in my classroom. And unfortunately, since Charlottesville, this slogan, Make America Great Again, has been appropriated by a number of hate groups, a number of neo-Nazi groups. Okay, a few things. 1. Kids do not have the right to feel comfortable in the classroom. They have the right to feel like they're not going to be physically attacked. They have the right to feel that no physical harm will come to them during their class. They do not have the right to be shielded from scary opinions. And I hate this reasoning here. And again, I've been thinking a lot about like symbols lately and what they mean. Like the fact that so many symbols can have so many different meanings. Like take the American flag, for example. I guarantee you that if you go and ask 100 people what does the American flag mean to you, you're going to get maybe at least 40 different answers. To some people, like if you go on the ANCAP pages on social media, they're all bashing the flag. They're all talking about flag burning. Why? It's not because they hate the people of the United States. It's because they hate the U.S. government and they feel the flag represents the government. If you would ask a few other people, like the people reacting to the NFL controversy, they're generally not insulted because you attacked the U.S. government. They're generally insulted because you attacked U.S. culture, the people. Like, it all means so. Symbols mean so many different things to so many people, and I think the only time we can ever say that a certain symbol is objective, has an objective meaning, is when at least like 80 to 90% of people agree on the definition of it. Like take the swastika. I'm sure there are a few places outside the United States where it has retained its original meaning. I think it means justice. Hold up a swastika there, no big deal. But here, ask 100 people in the street, and I guarantee you 95 to 98 of them, at least, will say swastika. That means mass genocide, right? That means the Nazis. They're all going to agree that that's a pretty bad symbol. So again, someone wears a swastika to school, that's more in the rougher territories. I wouldn't be too opposed if someone said, hey, if the school district said, please don't wear that here. Because it has pretty much an objective meaning to everyone. Yeah, at least in the U.S. However, you're talking about a Make America Great Again slogan. Now, I know that was originally associated with Reagan, but again, symbols change. Now, the slogan doesn't really represent Reagan anymore. It represents Trump. 63 million people voted for Donald Trump in the November election. There are not 63 million people that hate minorities. There are not 63 million people that are neo-Nazis. There are not 63 million people that are involved in hate groups. I would say that of those people using the Make America Great Again slogan, fewer than 1% of them are legitimately racist. So you can't say, okay, this slogan, 1% of the people that use this slogan are racist, so therefore this slogan is racist. That's not how this works at all. And you can tell that, she says it's not about Trump, but you can tell that anyone that reacts this way, it's about Trump. If a child is reacting, and keep in mind, this is a high school too. We're not talking like a middle school where kids are still kind of learning stuff, and most of what they know, especially about politics, has come from their parents. We're talking about a high school. They're pretty much nearly adults at this point. They can handle this. They can handle this, and if they really can't handle this, that's where social ostracism comes in. If someone wears something you don't like, you don't talk to them. It is as simple as that. You don't associate with them. The article continues, the case of the MAGA shirts recalls a similar controversy in California that ended up in federal court. In 2010, some white students at Live Oak High School near San Jose came to school on Cinco de Mayo wearing shirts that incorporated the American flag. Worried that Latino students might see the shirts as a nativist provocation, and recalling that a year earlier, Latino students had reacted with threats when white students hung an American flag, administrators told the students to either turn their shirts inside out or take them off. 2 students who refused were told to go home. So we're talking about these Latino students had reacted with threats when white students hung an American flag. And again, why is the race important in this? I'm confused, but so Latino students are making threats, and the people hanging the flag were apparently in the wrong here. This seems even more. This example seems even more insane than the main one about the Trump shirts. Like, since when is wearing an American flag shirt, like, were they like legit like Patriot shirts, or were they like Old Navy? I want to know. Something tells me that the people making the threats are the problem here, not the people wearing a shirt with an American flag on it in the United States. I mean, at what point do you have to get offended by a flag? I mean, if people wear shirts with the Mexican flag in a United States school, I don't care. Like, people shouldn't care. Caring about that is stupid. But apparently this is a problem now. Anyways, the students who wore the flag shirts sued the Morgan Hill Unified School District, claiming their First and 14th Amendment rights had been violated. But the U.S. Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals rejected their claim. The Ninth Circuit, okay. Holding that the possibility of an altercation justified the decision to order them to remove or hide their shirts. And speaking of the Ninth Circuit, if we were to actually grade the Ninth Circuit along with all the other circuit courts based on their Supreme Court reversal rates. So the Ninth Circuit, and then rated on a curve, of course, the Ninth Circuit would get a C-. But to continue with the article, that decision could be squared with Tinker. It's harder to argue that allowing students to wear Make America Great Again t-shirts pose the risk of substantial disruption. Well, unless people are being total morons, it's not a disruption at all. Did it violate the other standards set out in Tinker, or violating the rights of other students to be secure and to be let alone? Probably not. There is no right to feel comfortable. Orlesky also says she wanted her students to be safe in her classroom, but she doesn't seem to be talking about physical safety. Well, they're good. A few points go to the author of this for mentioning that. Exactly. There is no right to feel comfortable in the classroom. In fact, quite the opposite is true. Orlesky's resignation suggests that this incident isn't likely to result in a court decision, but the Trump administration is young. And given the president's penchant for polarizing rhetoric and dog whistles, other teachers are likely to share Orlesky's apprehensions when they see a student wearing a MAGA hat or t-shirt, especially in a racially and religiously diverse classroom. Well, if they do, they're morons. Because again, to make it about race is stupid. This is just part of a whole nother issue of just trying to make anything MAGA related about race. When a good 1%, at maximum, I would say, a good 1% at maximum of the people that use the MAGA slogan are racist. The other 99%, I would say, probably not racist. There's a very high likelihood they are not at all racist. But to pick out these 1% and say, oh, they just ruined it for everyone, no, that's stupid. You wouldn't see that with any other you wouldn't see that with any other slogan or symbol. But to end the article, if they and their principals ordered the students to remove those garments and the kids and their parents go to court, even some liberal judges may come to perceive wisdom in Justice Thomas' objection to student free speech. Oh, well, that's dumb because there is no wisdom in Justice Thomas's objection to free speech. There are no objections to student free speech, to any free speech. That's ridiculous. Why? Enough with the attacking free speech lately. Just let people say whatever they want, and as long as they are not actually causing violence, and I mean directly causing violence, I'm not talking about one person said one thing and it was perceived another way by someone else, and then this third person became violent. No. Unless someone is saying, let's kill all these people, then there is no problem with free speech. Because this is one of the few cases where the slippery slope argument is legitimate, that you either have to have total free speech, or where does it go from there? I still consider total free speech to stop people from saying, hey, let's kill all these people, let's start a riot, let's cause violence. Because in that aspect, you're not charging them, because in that sense, the crime is not the fact that they said something. The fact is that they're creating violence. The violence is the issue. And it's just being proactive to say, okay, if they're inciting violence, well, then we can just take this extra step. And then we can be proactive and stop it before it even starts. But the problem isn't what they said. The problem is the effect of what they've said. But anyway, let me know what you think in the comments. Hopefully this is as ridiculous as I think it is, because every time I find one of these articles, it's like, really? People actually think this? But let me know what you think in the comments. If you like the video, please hit the like button, subscribe for more. Follow me on social media, I would appreciate it. And thanks for watching.